Conference, we're about to do something very special. To second the resolution, I require your permission to do something very special, and that's to hear from a refugee, to hear from Dr. Amer Masri, who has fled Syria. He fled the Assad regime, and he now works with refugee groups in Scotland. Do I have your permission to call Amer? Then I am delighted to call Amer to second the resolution.
Thank you. I would like to begin by thanking the First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, the Scottish National Party and the Scottish Refugee Council for your support to the Syrian people who have fled their homeland for safety. I would like also to thank the great Scottish people who have opened their arms to Syrians, who have shown compassion, who have shown humanity. Your kindness and generosity will not be forgotten. My friends, it is an absolute honor to be invited to speak to you today at your party conference. You are all gathered here for freely participate in the democratic governing of your country, free to speak your mind and express your opinion, free to criticize your leaders without fear. We Syrians have been denied these rights for over 40 years. When we stood up in 2011 and demanded an end to the dictatorship, we were met with full and brutal force of the Assad regime. Our aspirations and dreams have been destroyed by airstrikes. Our optimism and hope destroyed by barrel bombs. Conference, I'm addressing you today as a survivor of the Assad regime brutality, as someone who was beaten with electricity cable until I could no longer feel the sole of my feet, until I could no longer walk from the pain. As someone who was threatened to have my wife and my mother raped in front of me if I did not give information. But I'm only one Syrian. Thousands have been tortured and raped by this brutal regime. Tens of thousands have been killed by the indiscriminate aerial bombardments and illegal weaponry. Millions have fled its brutality and the chaos and instability it has brought upon my country. 5 years into what began as a peaceful Syrian uprising, we are all now confronted by two global problems that are symptoms of the Assad regime's dictatorship and brutality: the refugee crisis and the threat of extremism. The fallout from Syria is now the single largest humanitarian crisis since the Second World War. Over 4 million Syrians have fled in search for safety abroad. 11 million Syrians, almost double the population of Scotland, are displaced inside Syria. Thousands of others continue to try the dangerous route of the Mediterranean, confronted daily with the terrifying reality of their own likely death. For 5 years now, we have been fleeing barrel bombs in Syria, only to be faced with barbed wire in Europe. We cannot allow this inhumanity to continue. The emerging threat of extremism is one we all face collectively. These terrorists have exploited the chaos and instability in Syria created by Assad regime. They are a symptom of Assad dictatorship and brutality. We cannot simply just bomb these terrorists away, but also we cannot sit back and let their terrorism continue to destroy the lives of so many either. We must address the root cause of extremism in Syria, the root cause of the refugee crisis. This is the Assad regime. Now, many of you have asked me who the UK should be supporting in Syria. The conflict in Syria is so complex, but my answer is simple: civilians, the millions who are trapped between the barrel bombs and beheadings. They deserve your support. They deserve your protection. Let me be clear. Like all of you here today, no Syrian wants to see more bombs dropped in their country. The reality we Syrians face is that Assad Air Force has systematically and indiscriminately bombed us for over 4 years now. Assad Air Force has reduced many of our cities, our towns, our homes to rubble, under which our lives and our families lie dead. Russia's intervention, supporting Assad in his indiscriminate targeting of civilians, has only further increased the urgent need to protect them. To all of you gathered here today, MPs, MSPs, MEPs, members of this great party, and members of the wider public, I say, we need to stop the bombs in Syria. We need a no-bombing zone to stop the Assad regime indiscriminate aerial bombardments and save lives. We need a no-bombing zone to protect civilians and reduce the mass exodus of the Syrians from their homeland. We need a no-bombing zone to reduce the threat of radicalization planted in the aftermath of every barrel bomb and airstrike, in the rubble of every destroyed home and life, while the international community looks on. We need a no-bombing zone to make clear to Assad and Putin that there is no military solution to this conflict, and that the international community is prepared to uphold international law, enforce UN Security Council resolutions, and apply the Geneva I communique. We need no bombing zone to bring this brutal conflict to an end, and together we can begin rebuilding a free, democratic, and diverse Syria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amer, for addressing our conference.